Tae, a 17-year-old high school student, tries to hand-feed Kotaro, a 23-year-old company employee. He feels disgusted and nervous about it. Shaken, he searches for an excuse to avoid eating the food from her hand, exclaiming, "Well, would you look at the time?" Tae reassures Kotaro that there's no need to be embarrassed since they are alone in the room. Kotaro, needing a break, thinks to himself that he is not good with this kind of stuff but convinces himself it's fine since no one can see them. As he's about to leave, Tae approaches him, fixes his crooked necktie, and hands him a towel and some tissues. Still anxious, Kotaro tells her that it's okay, and that she's done enough. As he walks out the door, Tae waves goodbye, wishing him a nice day and to stay safe. Kotaro, now walking away, reflects on how they appear to be a happy couple at first glance. However, dreadfully, there is a secret he cannot reveal to anyone. Suddenly, Kotaro hears creepy footsteps around him, and a voice ominously declares, "I found you." A Koga clan member sneaks up behind Kotaro, revealing that he knows Kotaro's true identity as a member of the Iga clan. The Koga member taunts Kotaro, saying he cannot hide forever, and a tight rope-like material wraps around Kotaro's neck. A voice commands, "Die!" as blood splashes from a sudden slash. Tai, worried, calls out for Kotaro as the Koga's head is chopped off. Tai apologizes, saying she hasn't finished the outdoor cleaning, now splattered with blood. She asks Kotaro if he is injured. He reassures her that he is fine, because she saved him, and thanks her. Tai, now blushing, turns around and says that for Kotaro she would even go through fire and water. Kotaro, surprised, can only manage a stunned "but" in response. With the headless body lying on the floor, Tai asks Kotaro if that shinobi was from his hometown. Noting the strangeness of an Iga shinobi and a Koga Kunoichi being together, Tai declares that anyone wanting to attack Kotaro is an enemy, which Kotaro finds cold given their situation of living under the same roof. Kotaro, speaking to an Iga clan member, reports that he has investigated the Koga who launched the surprise attack, revealing they belong to the Mochizuki faction. He assures the clan member, named Momochi, that he will continue to monitor their movements closely. Momochi acknowledges Kotaro's adaptation to life outside the village and his information-gathering skills. He instructs Kotaro to continue gathering intel, especially about the elusive Koga Viper. Kotaro, sweating profusely, secretly thinks about Tai being the true Koga Viper. Walking away from the conversation, Kotaro reflects on how the Iga and Koga have a deeply rooted grudge. He worries about the trouble they would face if anyone found out he and Tae were living together. As he re-enters the house, he resolves to keep Tae's identity as the Koga Viper a secret. Tae, smiling, welcomes him home, and Kotaro notices her happiness. She excitedly mentions a festival in her hometown and shows him a poster for the Koga Ninja Festival. Kotaro, concerned, warns that attending could turn into a bloodbath if they are discovered. Tae, pouting, tells him not to be so mad and admits that their relationship is one that no one approves of. Flushing at the thought, she compares their situation to Romeo and Juliet, emphasizing the importance of keeping their secret. She reassures him, saying it's all right because no one would ever suspect a person from the Iga clan and a person from the Koga clan would be living together. Kotaro muses to himself about how carefree she is. Tai, now rubbing his back, tells him he worries too much. He protests, saying of course he does, because if they were found out, they would spend the rest of their lives on the run. Suddenly she responds that if she's with Kotaro, she will always be happy. Kotaro, now flustered, says it's not the time for that kind of talk, but she insists that this is exactly the time for it. Kotaro begins to think she might be right and that whatever happens, as long as they are together, it will be fine. With a terrifying expression, she says that if any nuisances do appear, it will be fine if she just massacres every single one of them, while holding Kotaro tightly. Her expression even scares the pets along with Kotaro. With an instant change of demeanor, she rolls around and suggests they start preparing dinner. Cutting to a scene half a year earlier, Kotaro and other Iga clan members are in a forest. Suddenly one of the members is cut in the neck from an attack, leaving Kotaro wondering what happened to his comrade. Seeing the rest of his comrades fallen, Kotaro expected this much. A girl's voice remarks that the expert of the Iga clan did this much and starts laughing. She steps closer, revealing herself as the Koga Viper, and says, "Now the two of them can have fun to their heart's content," wearing a scary expression. Kotaro, now shaking in fear, thinks about how he somehow made it back alive while Momochi stands nearby. Momochi tells Kotaro that it looks like the invasion operation has failed again. Kotaro apologizes, blaming the Viper's violent interference. Momochi cuts him off, saying his excuses are worthless, and orders him to fall back from the front lines. Surprised, Kotaro listens as Momochi explains it's an order from the Elder. Kotaro walks back to his home thinking about his new mission to go down to a human city after being cut from the front line. He wonders if he'll get used to the menial tasks ahead. Stopping at his front door, he senses a presence inside and wonders if it could be an enemy. He pulls out a dagger-like weapon and kicks the door open. The Koga Viper appears, holding a dust cleaner, and welcomes Kotaro home. Kotaro is very scared to see the viper, but she says she was just about to finish cleaning. She tells Kotaro his clothes were scattered all over the place and that it's bad to leave them everywhere. Still surprised, Kotaro asks why she is in his home and what her goal is. The Koga viper responds that it's to meet Kotaro, of course, and says he knows this. Kotaro, shivering in fear, thinks about how she came to his house to clean his life. She continues, talking about how until she met Kotaro, her life had only been about swinging the blade on the battlefield. Everyone who heard the name Viper kept their distance, leaving her in lonely solitude every day. She says Kotaro was different because no matter how many times she knocked him down, he would get back up without submitting or hesitating, as if his soul and passion were burning with love. During their daily sword fights, she realized she had fallen for him. Kotaro, confused, asks how that happened. Tai responds that Kotaro was the one to rescue her from that sea of solitude, and that is what genuine love is. Kotaro thinks about how crazy she sounds this whole time. Tai concludes by saying that from now on she wants to serve Kotaro not as a shinobi but simply as a woman. As part of her preparation for this day, she had acquired extensive training in the art of housekeeping. Kneeling before Kotaro, she implores him to please allow her to stay in his home. Kotaro wonders if she received bridal training, quickly saying no, and asking her to wait. He reminds her that he is an IGA ninja and she is a Koga ninja, questioning if she is trying to abandon her clan. Suddenly 2 animals barge in, and she declares it was her intention because Kotaro is the light that shines in her life. If he questions her resolve, she threatens to build a mountain out of the heads of Koga shinobi, giving him a menacing look. Kotaro questions if she plans to exterminate her clan, and she dismisses it as a trivial thing in the face of their love, proposing they make a love mess together. He looks into her eyes, realizing she is very serious. He tells her to calm down, suggesting she must be confused. She wonders if Kotaro is rejecting her because he hates her. Inching closer, Kotaro gets nervous as they accidentally bump into each other. He thinks to himself that he needs to calm down, and that he can't possibly give in to the seductions of a Koga shinobi, especially when the opponent is the Koga viper. Looking down at her sparkling puppy eyes, he suddenly feels his heart pounding faster and notices her cuteness. At this rate, he will succumb to the seduction. Suddenly, Kotaro feels an intense shock and falls on his back, realizing something is wrong with his body. Tai apologizes, explaining that she thought if she didn't do this, she wouldn't have been able to comfortably talk to him. He notices he has been secretly poisoned by her. She says that while he still has consciousness, she will have him respond to her proposal. She asks if he will live happily together with her, or commit double suicide, and pledge his love to her in the next world, giving him a threatening look. Bashfully, she says it was like a once-in-a-lifetime confession. Kotaro points out that the way she phrased it made it sound like a threat. Kotaro reflects on when they first started living together and how tiring his desk work is. Walking into his home, he smells something strange and notices Tai, who says she will get dinner ready. He admits he is concerned but mentions it has been a while since he's had a home-cooked meal. Suddenly, crackling sounds erupt as the furnace explodes, and she tells Kotaro dinner is ready. He asks her what the food is, questioning if it's an earthen pit in this day and age. She proudly says she made it this afternoon, smiling, and recreated the village kitchen to show how it char-boils perfectly. Noticing all the smoke, he tells her she's going to set off the fire alarm, and reminds her that this is a rental unit and they can't be doing that. She responds that he lacks a kitchen, questioning how she is supposed to boil things. He points out the gas stove, and she slowly repeats, stove, not knowing what it is. Kotaro walks up to the stove, turning the switch on, causing a fire to start. Tai, shaken, asks if he's a time traveler from the past, wondering what on earth that stone is and where the coals are, thinking he uses a kind of ninjutsu. He coldly tells her that she can't be real. The scene cuts to Tai calling the fridge a burrow that is so cold and looking at a laundry machine, questioning if she doesn't have to go down to the river anymore. Kotaro shows her a rice cooker, and as it opens, it scares her, thinking it opened its mouth. She marvels at how quickly civilization progresses while learning what a microwave is, and Kotaro tells her she really doesn't know anything. Tai explains that her father was very strict, and she never left the village until now, so she doesn't know anything about the outside world. Kotaro muses to himself about how the Koga's suppression of information is impressive, but to think it was to this extent is insane. Tai confides in him that she came here to support him, and now worries she is just bothering him. She cries, declaring she can only hope to atone with her life, pulling out a blade. Kotaro quickly tells her that this is too much and she doesn't need to do that. He reassures her that it's fine, and suggests they eat before the food gets cold. With a gloomy expression, she admits she doesn't know if the food will please him, and if it doesn't, she will let a wild beast devour her. Kotaro wonders why the mighty viper would be so faint at heart. She sighs, admitting she feels truly unworthy, and questioning the point of all her bridal training. They all start eating, including their pets, and Kotaro tells her the food is delicious, especially since he has been eating nothing but convenience store food recently, noting there's definitely something special about food cooked in an earthen pot. Tai is touched by his words, but Kotaro reminds her that there are no fire pits in the house, and she doesn't have to be perfect from the start. She should just do whatever makes her happy. He adds that she isn't herself when she's being meek. Tai is surprised by Kotaro's kind words and vows to do her best to become a wife worthy of him. Kotaro quietly advises her to take everything in moderation and to ask him before doing anything from now on, as sharing information and having no secrets is paramount. She responds that she understands. He suggests they start eating, mentioning he is also proud of his miso soup. Tai tells Kotaro to try her dish too, and Kotaro thinks to himself that this is much better than her being depressed. He looks around, frightened by the sight of weapons, pelts, and some animal bones. He asks if she brought the meat from the supermarket, and she questions what a supermarket is. Tai urges Kotaro to go outside. He questions her, saying why go outside when there's a chance people might see them. She begs him, saying she's been cooped up in the house the whole time, insisting they should go outside. He worries about getting caught, but as he turns to look at her, she says she's losing control over her urges with a deathly expression, and he begs her to chill. Now outside, they jump on the rooftops of other houses as she hops into the sky. While jumping, Tai tells Kotaro to look at all the lights, but Kotaro is only worried about her jumping too high. Kotaro thinks to himself that a late-night stroll away from prying eyes should be fine. He considers how everything must be new to her, now that she's escaped the village she was born and raised in, and that she should have the chance to spread her wings a little. He looks back and realizes she is gone from the rooftop, finally spotting her hanging and waving at a child from a window. He grabs her away, asking what she is doing, and what if someone sees. She tells him that they look like a happy family, and that someday, that will be them. While traveling, she tells Kotaro that this was so much fun, while he realizes he's out of breath and questions if strolls were always this exhausting. He tells her she must be satisfied now, and they should start heading back. Smiling, she asks if she can request one final thing. While walking, Kotaro is surprised to find she wanted to go night viewing. She tells him she heard that the cherry blossoms are lit up at this time. Kotaro asks if they had these in Koga, and she says her father planted one when she was born, and part of her daily training was jumping over it. Kotaro marvels at how they truly were ninjas capable of such feats. Tai reveals she had always dreamed of seeing the cherry blossoms with someone she loves, and today one of her dreams has come true. Nervously, Kotaro responds with a, "Right," and realizes his heart actually skipped a beat, thinking cherry blossoms are frighteningly potent. He glances to his right and notices she's gone. Suddenly, she leaps over the cherry blossom, surprising Kotaro. He asks what she's doing, and she admits it was just a force of habit. Kotaro overhears drunk people behind him talking about seeing Tai flying through the air, scaring him that they might have been discovered. He insists they should get out of there. Tai agrees, leaving a cloud of dust from how fast they are. The two drunk people, now realizing no one is there, blame it on their drunken state. She looks down and realizes they are holding hands. Instantly, Kotaro apologizes, saying it was in the heat of the moment when he grabbed her hand. She tells him it's fine if they hold hands. Now holding hands under the cherry blossoms, both are very nervous, their hearts thumping loudly. Kotaro thinks to himself that this bliss is surprising from their first outing together. Tai reflects on how she's surprised they ended up holding hands and can feel Kotaro's body heat, her emotions running wild at this rate. Suddenly, Kotaro gets frightened and tells Tai that her claws are coming out. She apologizes, explaining that when she gets excited, her claws just come out on their own. He responds, bewildered, asking what kind of gimmick that is. Tai curiously asks about the disc-like object, and Kotaro responds that it's a CD. Finding it intriguing, Tai wonders if it's a new shuriken. Kotaro contemplates how he acquired it through secretive means, and reveals it contains classified information about the Koga village. Kotaro inserts the CD into his laptop, eagerly telling Tai that he's been anticipating their reaction to his departure from the village. The screen displays a formation of Koga clan members. Tai immediately recognizes the Koga mansion, and Kotaro mentions that a meeting took place there a few days ago. Tai spots Mochi and Old Man Ban in the meeting, reminiscing about the past. Kotaro notes that the audio is faint and decides to increase the volume, allowing them to finally hear the meeting discussing the Viper's whereabouts. One member reports they have searched the mansion, mission areas, and beyond without finding any solid leads, and suggests she might have been taken down by the IGA clan. Kotaro informs Tai that they are looking for her, as she is the Viper. One member believes she has escaped, while another laments that no one can catch her now, saying it will be difficult to pursue her. Tai remarks that the tone sounds close to giving up and reassures Kotaro that everything is fine for now. The meeting continues with members questioning what to do about the chief, surprising Kotaro. An intimidating image of the Koga village chief, Yamanaka Kiwamon, appears. He's known as the deadliest shinobi. Tai notes that he commands his subordinates as if they are his personal possessions. Yamanaka Kiyoamon, tearfully, calls the Viper his dear unwed granddaughter and demands an expanded search to find her, claiming she belongs to him. Kotaro shudders, identifying the man as Yamanaka Kiyoamon. Tai, too, acknowledges that he is not to be trifled with. Yamanaka Kiyoamon sobs, with his subordinates begging him to regain composure. Tai, surprised by her grandfather's behavior, calls him immature. Kotaro is taken aback when Tai refers to him as Grandpa. Tai questions herself, and then asks Kotaro if she hasn't told him that her name is Yamanaka Tai, the granddaughter of the Koga clan leader. Waking up in the morning, Kotaro feels groggy and complains about early morning activities being tough. The pets offer to feed him, holding up a sign for breakfast. Kotaro muses that the Koga clan has been particularly active lately and realizes he'll need to be cautious this afternoon. While brushing his teeth, he notices that Viper isn't up yet, which is unusual, and wonders if she's still asleep. Tai is outside, cleaning up trash and scaring away crows, startling Kotaro. He asks what she is doing, and Tai explains that the neighbors were complaining about the crows, assuring him there's no need to worry. Kotaro then asks what she'll do if people become suspicious of her, to which she replies that they should help those in need. Meanwhile, the pets, still holding the breakfast sign, look exhausted. At the department store, Kotaro is welcomed as he searches for items to buy. The workers introduce new products like crow sables and scorched ancient battlefield raw caramels. Kotaro hands over one of the items and the worker inspects it, thinking it looks familiar. Kotaro asserts that his company's creations are all original and that he has absolute confidence in them. He also wanted to showcase their dark shinobis, to which the worker remarks that those are definitely knockoffs. Kotaro returns to his job, where a co-worker immediately asks how things went. Kotaro responds that it didn't go well because his charm didn't work. Suddenly, another voice calls out for Momochi, revealing itself to be Komori, another co-worker, accusing him of slacking off again. Kotaro tells him to keep up the good work, mentioning that he took on 3 new projects in the morning, while Komori insists he needs to get serious. He informs Kotaro about an afternoon meeting, asking if he's prepared, and Kotaro admits he completely forgot. Komori, unsurprised, devises a plan, which gets Kotaro excited. Kotaro points out that this job is just a side gig for him and that he'll take every shortcut he can. Suddenly, Komori screams that he's missing his meeting materials, sending Kotaro into a panic. Komori swears he had them in his briefcase and wonders if he lost them while out on business. Kotaro, trying to calm him, asks if he has a backup in the office. Komori says he does, but he revised them at home yesterday, so all he has is the old version. He wonders what to do. Komori suggests calling the police, hoping someone turned them in, but then realizes he doesn't remember the police number and asks Kotaro for help. Kotaro looks for the number but then leaves a note saying he's out to lunch. Out to lunch, Kotaro feels bad for Komori but prioritizes taking it easy, thinking he has no obligation to help. Suddenly, Tae pops into his thoughts, reminding him they should help those in need. After some pondering, he decides to rush back to help Komori. Kotaro thinks he can probably mobilize about 100 to 200 soldiers. Whistling, he summons a flock of crows and rats, scaring his co-workers and making them drop their food. Kotaro instructs his soldiers, mentioning it's been a while since they went hunting. Suddenly, a hawk appears in the sky. People in the meeting notice the hawk as Komori is called up next to present. Komori panics, not having found his updated materials in time, and starts his presentation with what he has. Upper management notes that his presentation is quite different from last time and much more polished. Meanwhile, Kotaro's rat soldiers swap out the old presentation with the updated one. Outside, his soldiers salute Kotaro, who praises them for a job well done, noting they caused quite a stir. He tells his hawk that he can't really scold Viper anymore. Walking back inside, his co-workers mention a recent outbreak of mice in the building, calling it gross. Kotaro overhears this and starts sweating, knowing he's guilty. Kotaro looks for Viper in the morning and finally finds her by the window, exclaiming that he's finally found her. She turns around with a scary look, questioning what he's doing while fixing her weapons. Kotaro asks if she's in a bad mood, and she starts swinging her weapons, lying that she's not, and tells him to hurry up and say what he needs. He tells her he was just wondering where his wallet had gone, and she tosses a weapon along with his wallet next to him, nearly killing him. Terrified, he thanks her as she mutters while walking out the door. Left alone, Kotaro thinks about how she's definitely mad about something. He wonders if it was something he did and resolves to be even more cautious around her than when he's on a mission. Kotaro admits that it's his first time being with someone and worries that he might have inadvertently set her off. He recalls a time when he tried to help her with the house chores, which made her very angry, saying he shouldn't take away her reason to live. He speculates that maybe she doesn't like him coming home late from his shinobi work, but then dismisses the idea, thinking she would happily join him if he asked. He remains puzzled about why she was so upset. Kotaro seeks out Sasuke, one of his ninja comrades, and asks if Sasuke knows anything. Sasuke nods, prompting Kotaro to ask what he knows. Sasuke remarks that understanding a woman's heart is beyond him. Kotaro, confused, asks what that's supposed to mean. Sasuke explains that although she might be a fearsome kunoichi, she's still a girl and needs to be treated gently, or he might end up hurting her. He adds that giving this advice to someone with almost no experience with girls feels futile. Kotaro starts getting annoyed with Sasuke, and a child passing by notices Kotaro's strange behavior, wondering what he's doing. Kotaro reflects on how much he might have been aggravating the Viper. Sasuke points out exactly what Kotaro has been doing wrong, making Kotaro question if that's really the issue. As Kotaro enters the house, he sees Tai muttering to herself with a deadly expression. Kotaro calls out her name, and she looks back, asking what he just said. Kotaro mentions that he bought some pudding and asks if she would like some. Tai aggressively hugs Kotaro, frightening him because she's holding a sword. She blushes and notes that it's the first time he's called her Tai. Kotaro explains that calling her Viper was just a force of habit and apologizes. She thinks aloud that if it had been a few more days, she would have exploded, giving Kotaro a very intimidating look. Kotaro silently thanks himself for the close call. Kotaro offers Tai some pudding, and she remarks that the sweetness is splendid, and that Kotaro's devotion flavors it. Kotaro insists that all he did was buy it. He notices her mood improving and compliments her cooking, suggesting she try making sweets sometime. Tai's claws start to show, and she gives him a menacing look, prompting Kotaro to nervously suggest they could cook together if she likes. Tai asks Kotaro to repeat what he said, and Kotaro, scared, reiterates that her cooking is excellent. The mice listening to the conversation notice that their master, Kotaro, is finally doing a good job. Kotaro walks to the breakfast table and sees a tiny fish and barely any rice, questioning if this is really for breakfast. He complains to Tai that this food won't sustain him through a whole day of work, and that he needs something more substantial. Suddenly, Tai angrily grabs his collar and starts ripping his shirt apart due to his complaints. Now shirtless, Kotaro and Tai look at his pudgy body. She asks if he has anything to say about his stomach. Tai tells him that all the oily junk food and beer since he left the village have left him with a body unfit for a shinobi. Kotaro complains that he doesn't know what to do about it, given all the company outings he has to attend. His pet soldiers note that a pudgy Kotaro would still be precious, but acknowledge it would hinder his shinobi work, all while eating their own food. Tai, blushing, says he's not the only one to blame for his weight, noting that the biggest reason is their happy married lifestyle. She admits that all the affection she puts into her cooking has fattened him up, saying it's only natural. She tells him not to worry, promising to do everything she can to help him regain his brilliant body, while picturing Kotaro as a bodybuilder. He protests, saying he never looked like that. At work, Kotaro is relieved that it's finally lunchtime. Komori notices his box of food, and teasingly asks if a loving woman made it for him. Kotaro corrects him, pointing out that it's not what he thinks. He remembers Tai's declaration that she will be responsible for all 3 meals every day, making Kotaro feel his future looks bleak. Opening the box, he sees a simple nutrient ball ration, prompting Komori to comment on its simplicity. Kotaro dashes out of the workplace, convinced that such little food won't sustain him, heading to a convenience store. Suddenly, a dagger flies past his leg, nearly injuring him. A voice calls from behind, saying she knows it's tough, but it's for his own good. Still unable to locate her, Kotaro looks around frantically. Continuing to talk, Tai warns that if he eats anything other than what she provides, she will take it back out of his body herself, brandishing her claws. Kotaro thinks she's terrifying. As time passes, Kotaro grows hungrier. He rummages through the fridge, thinking he might die if he continues with her plan and needs to find something to eat. Desperate, he even considers Sasuke's food. His ninja mouse sees him rummaging and tells him to back off. Suddenly, Kotaro finds a stack of papers and wonders what they are about. He realizes they are diet recipes, including lean chicken breast and tofu burgers, all low-sodium and healthy meals that Tai has tailored to his taste so they can eat healthily into old age. Kotaro is surprised by the effort she put into this. Out of nowhere, Tai sneaks up on Kotaro, welcoming him home. He jumps back, startled, and asks if she just came back. Tai ignores the question, saying she'll start dinner right away. Kotaro notices her clothes are appropriate for cooking and asks where she has been. She responds that she went to a nearby mountain. He wonders why she would go there as she excitedly begins cooking. She surprises him with wild plants, and Kotaro asks if those plants are what he thinks they are. Tai explains that they are low in calories and taste great, reminiscing about eating them in Koga. She tells him that even though he's struggling, she still wants him to enjoy eating carrying a heavy basket. Kotaro sighs and agrees, saying all right. Tai is thrilled, believing his spirit is great because it will make training easier. 1 month later, Kotaro weighs himself at 141 lbs, 64 kilos. He has lost 10 kilos and his BMI is now where it should be, though he trembles from the diet's rigor. Tai congratulates him, noting his significant weight loss and that he has finally reached his goal. While Kotaro admits it was harder than he imagined with too many temptations, Tai responds that it's truly wonderful. She mentions that if he hadn't made progress, they would have moved on to the living on air plan, which Kotaro dismisses as suitable for hermits. Tai declares that today marks the end of his diet, and that they should celebrate by filling their bellies tonight. Kotaro reflects on the rough journey, feeling grateful for Tai's effort. Suddenly a lot of noise is heard, and Tai announces that it's time for the next phase. She puts a chain around Kotaro's neck, shocking him. He asks what's happening. She explains that it's a special Koga-made reinforced harness, one she also wore when she was younger. Kotaro, bewildered, asks what she's planning. Tai reveals that it's part 2 of getting his brilliant body back, building strength with aerobic exercise, starting with some light mountain climbing, all while emanating a very intimidating aura. After returning home, battered from mountain climbing, Tai observes that diet and exercise work best together. Kotaro, covered in healing patches, grumbles that she should have researched that earlier. Flashing back to years ago, Kotaro struggles for his life as his father chokes him against the wall. His father, filled with rage, accuses Kotaro of being at fault and wishes he didn't exist, choking him into unconsciousness. Snapping awake from the nightmare, Kotaro can only think about the horrible awakening. He realizes he can't breathe and finds Tai choking him too. Panicking, Kotaro demands to know what she's doing, and she apologizes for waking him. Kotaro realizes that whether he's awake or asleep, he's on the verge of death and laments that he can't relax even on his day off. Tai insists he should relax and enjoy the day, mentioning the weather will worsen in the afternoon. She suggests they play something like Hanafuda, Karuta, or maybe Sugoroku. Checking his phone, Kotaro exclaims in frustration, prompting Tai to ask what's wrong. He responds, "Work." Now in a ninja outfit, Kotaro sneaks into a building, bypassing security. He takes a call after escaping, reporting the mission complete and that he recovered all the data. The person on the other end praises him and instructs him to stand by for further instructions, emphasizing that everything is for the village. Hanging up, Kotaro walks home in the rain, reflecting if everything truly is for the village. He recalls how the village took him in after his mother's death and his father's descent into alcoholism, and now he works as a shinobi to repay them because that means everything to him. Suddenly, an umbrella appears over him, shielding him from the rain. Tai stands before him, calling his name and saying she came to get him. Secretly relieved, Kotaro asks why she's there. She explains that he didn't take an umbrella and that she tracked his mission location through his system. Nervously, he acknowledges her stalker-like behavior. Noticing her fidgeting and blushing, he asks what's wrong. Tai, blushing, suggests that maybe they could share an umbrella, only if he wants to. Surprised, Kotaro asks for clarification, thinking she meant sharing an umbrella. She admits she heard about it from a TV drama and doesn't want to force him. He pulls her under the umbrella, saying they should get home before the rain worsens. Nervous but happy, she agrees, sticking close to him. As they walk home, she remarks, "It's a dream come true," while Kotaro warns her about a puddle ahead. Grateful for his warning, she shares that she always yearned for a family to pick her up and walk home together on a rainy day. Back at home, Tai surprises Kotaro with a present, celebrating their 100 days of living together. She reveals she has been knitting it, little by little. Kotaro, touched, says it's the first time anyone has given him a present like this. As he takes it, he notices it's super heavy. After finally putting on the chain-filled clothes, he feels very uncomfortable. Tai beams, telling him he looks great in it. Kotaro, puzzled, remarks that if she was going to knit, couldn't she have made something like a sweater? Tai insists that such frail equipment would offer no protection, assuring him that his new clothes will keep him safe no matter the carnage. Grateful, Kotaro promises to get something for her next time. She responds that there is no need and that she is overjoyed just by being with him. As dinner time approaches, Tai announces it's time to start cooking. Kotaro, lost in thought, muses that the day will come when he must choose between the village and Tai. Now lounging on the couch contemplating the future, Tai observes that it must be hard to move in his current outfit and suggests he change. Kotaro, feeling lazy, declines, saying he thinks he'll stay like this for a while longer.